the idea is clear. The project management is all about managing the project, but what do we manage? So the question is, what do we manage? Or what are the, in other words, what are the main project management activities we do? So anyone of you who can give me some ideas, what do we manage? What's the project management? Yeah.
Work phases.
Yeah, so we manage the whole working of the project. So in a sense, the day-to-day work of the project. What else do we manage?
Maybe manage the teams members and something like
Yeah,
that.
so we manage people working in the project, right? We manage people working in the project. What else do we manage? We manage the budget of the project, right? Yeah. So we manage the cost and time management in a sense. Yeah, we do project management to manage the budget and the development time and stuff like that. Yeah. So we manage people, we manage budget, right? We manage hardware and software resources, right? What other activities do we have as project management? We have reports and presentation, right? Yeah, again, someone mentioned issue, which is right. So we say, in a sense, we manage the risks of the project, the problems the project is facing. So there are a lot of things project management has to do. That's the whole point here, and it's important to understand some of the important issues here. So again, let's go back to the very basic discussion we had for software engineering. We said the engineer, once we do software engineering, we are coming with a software product, and we have to come up with that product on schedule. So with time, and we have to have proper requirements and quality, and we also have to have it within the budget. So a lot of that also has to do with the management, right? So you need to manage the budget, you need to manage the plan, the project plan. So there's another thing is another important activity is project planning and scheduling. That's an important job of project management. And of course, project planning and scheduling is another also reason which indirectly affects your time, right? So managing time.
Doctor,
Yes.
do we care about scenarios or how things may happen or may go?
Can you explain me what do you mean by that scenario?
So to see each perspective about the project, if something go fail here or problem there.
Yeah, and that's what we have it here in the risk management. So we don't look at it from the technical side because that's the part of the technical team to do things. But as a management, as a manager, we look at the risks involved in the project. What can go wrong, and if it happens, what should we do? So we'll see later on. We'll have a complete discussion, at least one whole complete class on risk management, where we'll see exactly what is risk and how do we manage risk. Yeah, but again, I understand this is what your question was. So we have to do risk management. So we see what can go wrong, and if it goes wrong, what will happen, how to manage it. That's important part of it. Okay. So yeah, there's a lot of things project management has to do. So again, just as an idea, this is not always the case, but generally this is how things work. So you have, this is called, let's say this is the technical team, right? In the technical team, you have, for example, the requirements engineers, the software designers, architects, implementers, testers, all those technical team, right? With the technical team, you have also someone working is project management team, right? For a given team. So this makes your project team. You have the technical team and the project management team. Then you have, sometimes we call this as higher administration. Higher administration or the management team for the whole company or the organization, right? Then you have this client. And of course, with the client comes the end users and stuff like that. So what happens is the project management has this job. So it has to communicate with the technical team to make sure that things are going fine. It has to communicate the findings and reporting to the higher team. It also has to communicate with the client. Of course, while communicating with the client, the technical team is also involved many times, right? So if you're doing requirements engineering, for example, you are involved in gathering requirements, or there are meetings where you have to explain technical stuff. So technical team is involved with the project management team, but the project management team has to communicate with everyone. So a lot of that is also where we say reports and presentation, which can be generalized as communication. So a lot of communication has to be done. So the project management, let's try to understand the project management team, which is part of the project. What does it have to do with the higher administration or the management of the organization or the company? Any idea what it has to do?
Give them report and explain to them, or do presentation for the project or something like that.
Yeah, so one of the things they have to do is to update the higher management about the progress of the project, right? How is the project moving? Is there any issues which they need to intervene? Some very general questions, which is not technically related to project, but generally related to project, right? So they have to, of course, report the progress of the project. But if there are issues which the higher administration has to step in, then they have to communicate those things and get it resolved, right? What does project management team has to do with the client? What are the things, for example, they have to do?
If there any problem happens with the client, go to the management.
Basically, what happens is one of the things is project management works very closely with the client in a sense. For example, you have weekly progress of the project. So project management team is involved with those meetings and presentations about progress, about problems, resolving with the client and stuff like that. So progress of the project, even the proposal, the project management team is involved in writing proposals and negotiating with the client, right? And if there are concerns from the client, the project management team has to take it and deal with that with the technical team. Of course, project management team is also closely working with the technical team, right? So project management team is very closely working with the technical team to see the progress issues. It's also working very closely with the client to report the progress. If there are issues to be resolved with the client, explain it and negotiate it, and also give the presentation of the progress or other things. So again, we can see that project management team is quite essential. It is said that if you have a very nice project management team, right? The project management team, a good, excellent project management team might not guarantee you the success of the project. Why is this said? So let me write it there. Project management. So let me call it good project management does not guarantee success, but bad, I'm just writing a short, project management does guarantee failure in a sense. What do you think about this? So we are saying good project management does not guarantee success in a sense that if you are doing excellent project management, still we don't guarantee the success because success also depends on other things like any idea? Of course, it is dependent on budget and schedule, but also a lot of that is dependent on the technical team who's going to do the actual project, right? The requirement, the design, the implementation, and it also depends on other things, as you said, how the things are, how the client is, how the budget was negotiated. So it does not guarantee success. But if you have an excellent team, you have excellent schedule, budget, everything, but you have a bad management, it might harm the project. That's the point here. You see here. So it's important that project management is done in the right way. That's the point here to be taken, right? Now, keep in mind that project management in software engineering is not much different than other engineering, right? So project management is not special for software engineering. So project management is done in any engineering, like civil engineering, mechanical, any company which has products to be developed, you have project management, right? But there are some unique features of project management for software engineering, which is again coming because of the unique nature of the software. And if you come to this discussion, it goes back to the very beginning of the course where we were discussing the unique natures of software. So very quick recap, anyone who can tell me why project management in software engineering might be a bit different than other engineering disciplines?
Because they don't deal with material.
Yeah, so software is intangible, we say, right? Software is not something physical where you can see exactly and touch or see or the progress. It's more logical, conceptual, and it's more soft, right? So this is one thing. So sometimes assessing the progress of the project becomes an issue, because if there's something physical like a building coming up, you can easily clearly see what's the progress, how much has been developed, or how much has been constructed. But things which are not physical is not that easy, right? It's more about reports and documents. So intangible nature of the project is the reason that it becomes a bit different to manage software project. Another reason is also that we spoke about that if you make 10 products of similar nature in physical world, so if you make 10 different buildings which are identical, you still have 10 different projects in that sense. But you don't, every project in software has to be unique. You don't make copies of the same software and you say that you have a new product coming up. So all those discussions we had before are still the same discussions which are there for project management, that these are the reasons why project management in software is not exactly the same. Of course, a lot of that is common, but there are some unique challenges involved in software project management. Okay. So yeah. So again, I hope before even going further, let's go back quickly in the other thing. So let's go one by one very quickly. What about managing people? What do you think is the important aspect of project management, managing people?
Because we have different people who take care of different things. So
Yeah.
it must have a good communication between them.
Yes. So for example, let's as a start, we say any organization, any company, the biggest asset or the biggest thing a company has in possession is the people working in the projects, right? So that's the most prized thing you have. Most valuable thing of a company is the people working for the company. So managing people in a right way is very important. Now the thing is, what does project management has to do with managing people? Again, even from right from the start, once you get a new project, you have to decide who is going to work in the project. So right there, the people management stuff comes. So you might have thousands of employees in the company or even hundreds of employees. Now, in this particular project, who is going to work? So immediately the project management has to make decisions, right? So yeah, for requirements, I'm going to select these. For design, I'm going to select this from among other people working in the company. So managing people, that is one aspect of it. Deciding who's going to work in the project and who's going to work with what roles. People's role is very important, right? That's also part of the project management. And once people starts working, managing the people. So some people during the project might get sick. Some people have their vacations. So managing all those things, the schedule, people taking leaves, people are sick. How do you manage all those aspects? Very important, right? If someone is going on a leave, who's going to take over his work? Or maybe his work can be paused for that time. All those decisions have to be made, right? What if somebody suddenly becomes sick? What's going to happen in that situation? So managing people becomes important. Sometimes also is very important is to look at the motivation of the people working in the company. If the project, the environment of the company is not good, people might lose motivation, right? And if people might lose motivation, of course, that's very bad for the company. It's very bad for the project, and at the same time, it's very bad for the company. So you want to make sure that people are cared of, their concerns, their personal concerns, which are related to, which can, as much as related to the company, you want to address their problems, right? So these are very important things. So people management is very important, right? Giving enough training for people, looking at every people individually and looking at their career goals and objectives, making sure they are happy with the project. They're making sure they're happy with the company and all those stuff, right? The issues with their salaries, all those aspects. So people management becomes a big area of project management. I hope you can already see that, right? Similarly, budget management, because you have limited budget for the project. That budget, a big part of that project is going to be paid as salaries for the people working in the project. But apart from the salaries, you have to have, for example, hardware, software licenses, of course, other costs of the company. So managing that budget appropriately is very important, right? So this is budget management. Of course, hardware and software resources. So you might have a limited number of licenses for a software, and you have multiple projects running. So when is this? So you have 10 licenses, and who is going to use this software at what time? How do you share those licenses in that sense, right? Or you have hardware. Who's going to use this hardware when? And this hardware might be used across projects, or within a project, more than one people need it. So all those things are very important, right? Office space management, providing good space for people to work, offices, computers, all those hardware, whatever is needed, right? So it's also part of project management that we have enough resources to work in the project, right? Reports and presentation, as we said, which starts very early once your project is even being thought of. So you're preparing feasibility report, you're preparing project proposals, negotiating the project, project management planning, and scheduling. So a lot of reports has to be created, progress reports, of course, apart from the technical side. So management reports, right? So you have to create a lot of reports. You have to give presentations. Again, you have to give presentations to the client. You have to give presentations to the higher administration. A lot of work there. Again, risk management, as I said before, we are going to take this topic completely very soon. But the idea is that what can go wrong in the project and how do we manage if that happens? So it's a big topic again in project management, is to do risk management. And project planning and schedule. This is again very important thing. So we are speaking about a project, let's say a 1-year project. How are we going to divide it into work, tasks? And we'll see that also very soon, that how we do this thing, which is called, very important task here is the work breakdown structure, WBS. So we'll see this very soon. So a lot of things has to be done, right, in project management. Yeah, so if you have any question, let me know. Otherwise, I move forward.
Victor?
Yeah.
For project management, anyone can maybe take course and then go to work in project management, or that get it as promoted? You go in the company and be as a programmer, then you'll be in project management.
Okay, that is a very nice question, actually, very beautiful question. If you just take some project management course, and there are also some certifications in project management, like PMP, right? So is it that you take some courses or some certificates and you directly become a part of the project management team, or is it's like you have to go and work as a technical team and then become project management? Very important question. The answer is it's not one or the other. Many possible scenarios are there. For example, that a person might directly work in management jobs, and so he's not part of technical team. He directly works in project management capability, right? So this is possible. It's also possible that some people work in technical team for some time and then they get promoted is a right word there, but we have to be careful about using that word. Working from technical team, going to from technical team to project management team is not necessarily to be taken as a promotion in a sense that you're not doing a better job. No, I won't. I would say we have to be careful not to use promotion in that word, right? In fact, I'll tell you something. Again, it depends. One of the things to discuss this thing is, again, this is a very nice question, is that project management, as much as it is something to be learned, a lot of that is also a skill, a lot of skills, right? Not technical skill also, but personal skills. So we say sometimes there's a saying that either you know how to do management or you don't. It's very difficult to learn. Of course, not completely true. With training, you improve yourself. That's true. But some people, what I'm trying to say is some people are naturally inclined towards technical work, and some people are naturally inclined towards management work. So some people are good at communicating, writing reports, explaining, resolving conflicts. And again, I guess you might have seen within your own friend circle, right? Some of our friends are good. If we have issues between us, they're good at resolving conflicts. So maybe they're good at risk management or conflict resolution. Some people are good at communication. They can explain things better. They can write reports, give presentations, things like that. Some people are inherently good at technical things. They want to work on the technical side. I'm really interested in modeling, UML modeling. I'm really interested in programming. I'm really interested in testing. And I'm not very much interested in conflict resolution or discussion with the client, explaining things. So it's not about promotion or demotion. It's about what skills suits you. That's the most important part. So if you believe that you have to see your strength, that's the important thing. As an individual, you have to see your strengths and weaknesses. Some, again, I'm repeating, some have natural strengths towards management. Some have natural strengths towards technical side, and both are good. Both are important as well, right? So this is one thing. The other thing is, if you feel that your natural strength is more towards management activities, then you have to, with time, convince your higher management that you should be involved more in project management than technical side. And again, I'm repeating, it's not about promotion or demotion. It's about who does what. Everything is equally important in that sense. Okay, this is one thing. So you have to show your skills. If you believe that you're more important or you can do more contribution on management side, then you have to keep explaining to higher management that maybe you should be involved more in this, or even your project management team, that maybe in future projects you should also be part of project management, because you can show your skills that you're naturally good at that. This is one thing. The other thing is, it's possible in many projects that there are project members in the project management team who has no software experience. In a sense, you can have project management team who are not software engineers, so to say. So as software engineers, you learn project management, right? So in a sense, you can become project manager as even though you are also software engineers from technically side. But there are people working in software projects as managers or project management team who are not necessarily software engineers. They are basically management team. So they have been working in, or they have been studying and working in management area, but they don't have much knowledge in software engineering. What my personal understanding is also, and it's also discussed a lot in the industry, is it's always good in many situations or most situations that a big part of the management team are those people who have software engineering background, and preferably they have worked in software project as a technical team. Why is that? Because if you tomorrow, if you start playing role in project management team and you don't really know how things are done in software development, you will not realize the real problems, real issues, real challenges, or you will not be able to communicate the issues as good as if you have some experience in software development as a technical team. So you know exactly what you're speaking about. You know what is this. You know what's the modeling. You can. So again, I'm repeating. Having management, most of the project management team members should be having software engineering background. It's always good. They can do, generally speaking, a better job, but not necessarily everyone. Maybe someone in project management team as some very higher management, they might, the most important thing for them would be the management skills, not necessarily technical skills. But again, in general, it's always good to have project management skill, software engineering skill, the technical side. So again, one possible, and again, I think is a good career path. Again, if you are interested in project management, if you're not interested in project management, yeah, I recommend people might just stick with technical side. So you become for example, you start with being a programmer, or then you might become designers. Later on, you might become team leaders and stuff like that, or project leaders. But then if you believe, so you have leaders, you see here in the technical team, you have project leaders. And also in project management team, you have leaders. So you have leaders in both sides. So you can either be a technical team leader because you are interested, or you are more, your strengths are in technical side, or you can be leader from the project management team, right? It's your choice based on your skills. So if you believe you want to stick to technical side, be in the technical side. If you believe you want to be in the project side, again, I'm saying it's good to have some experience in technical side, then move to project side. That would be the best option. I hope this is making some sense.
Yeah, it makes very sense.
Okay, good. So this is something, is few of the things to keep in perspective, right? So if you remember, we also spoke before while we were discussing requirements engineering, is the idea of the chaos report of the Standish group. So we spoke about reasons why project fail, and we saw though that there was a lot of data collected over last 1990s and 2000s to see that why projects fail or why projects are successful. And they saw many factors why project fails or why projects are successful. And one of the top factors, apart from requirements or management of requirements, things related to requirements, one of the another important factors were things related to management. So the message we have is that requirements engineering and the activities related to requirements engineering and management is very important. And also activities also related to project management is important because it can lead to project success and failure, right? So very important to keep that into perspective. So this is something. Now let's move forward to the idea of another very important thing we do is project scheduling. This is one important aspect of project management. Now, project scheduling, what does project scheduling mean, right? So we say project scheduling is one of the most time-consuming activity of project management, and this goes in the bigger title of project planning and control, right? Project planning and control. So this is very important to keep in mind, right? That project schedule, as I said, is one of the most time-consuming activity of project management. Is project planning and control, right? Or project monitoring, so to say. So what do we do in project scheduling, right? So one of the important thing we do in project scheduling is what is called work breakdown structure. And keep in mind, what we are discussing in this course is an introduction to project management, right? So because the course is all about introduction to software engineering, we are looking at topics, and one of the topics is project management, and we are looking at the main aspects of project management. Of course, later on, you're going to take a complete course in project management, right? So keep that in mind. So work breakdown structure. What do we do in work breakdown structure? We know once we start a project, we are following a specific process, right? So we are following a process to come up with a project, right? Or to carry on a project to come up with a product. You remember that? The process, the project, and the product. So what we do is in here, based on the process we are following, right? We have to divide our project into phases, and phases are further divided into activities, and activities are further divided into tasks. Of course, if the task is big, you might further divide into subtasks, which are again tasks, right? That's possible. But at the end, it's all tasks, right? So the whole idea is if we have a project, right? We have to divide that project into tasks. Now, keep in mind, we'll come back to this discussion again, but there are two other keywords which are important. One of the keyword is called milestone, and the other one is the deliverable. So what are milestones or deliverables? Milestone, as the name suggests, is telling you your progress. So what happens is once you divide your work into project phases, activities, and tasks, once you finish some of the tasks, you might have hundreds or if not thousands of tasks in your project to complete, right? At some specific points, at some specific point of progress in your project, you identify those progress points as milestones. In a sense, that gives you a clear indication that you have achieved that much of progress. So if you remember, this word is coming like from traveling. So in the olden days, what happens that if you have a road, old days, if you're traveling from one city or one village to another village, and you're going through the road, right? You have on the side of the road some stones, right? And these stones give you a number, miles. It gives you here the miles. The miles which is remaining to reach another city, or the miles you have been traveling so far, depending on how you which side you read it, right? So these were actually literally there were stones which were pegged to the ground, and when people move and you reach this milestone, you know exactly that this much have been covered. You travel this much of distance, or this much of distance is remaining. But between two milestones, this is another milestone, right? So assuming this is another milestone, this is another milestone. Now you're moving here in between. As you're moving in between, let's say these two milestones are 10 miles apart or 10 kilometers apart. if you're moving in between, you don't know exactly what's the progress. Of course, with today's technology and all those, we are moving in cars or whatever not, and we have these odometers, speedometers, GPS location, we know exactly. But traditionally speaking, people don't have those access, right? So once you're moving, you cross this milestone, before this milestone, you're in between. So you know, you have some idea about exactly how much you have been progressing, but you don't have an exact measure. How much did you complete or how much is remaining? So that's the same idea people use here in project management as milestones. So if you do certain activities and you complete it, they say, yeah, this is a milestone. We know this has been done. And between two milestones, the activities you don't have a clear judgment of how much has been done. I'll just give you an example to know. I say, okay, one of the thing is one of the important tasks we have to do is interview. Interview is an important task because we want to gather requirements and we have to do interview. And you said that you have to interview clients and these end users and these client group and to capture the requirements. Now, in the middle of the interview, you did not complete interview, right? If someone asks you how much has been done or how much is remaining, you can give a rough idea. Yeah, I believe that, yeah, we have done almost all the interviews, some are remaining, but this cannot be treated as a milestone because these are a bit vague. But let's say you completed all the interviews, no more interviews, generally speaking, of course, with exceptions. So all the interview has been done. That's a milestone. You know exactly that you completed it. Same thing in use case modeling. So let's say that you're making use case diagram. Again, we know it's an iterative process, right? So you start making some diagram, you add actors, you add reuse cases, you keep refining things. In the middle of that, if somebody asks you how much of this is done, it's very difficult to tell you exactly. It's a vague thing. Yeah, we believe that we have done 80% of use case diagram. There's still some refinement to be done. But let's say you completed it. That's it. Of course, completed is in a relative sense because, of course, there's always a possibility of changing. But as of now, with the current knowledge you have, nothing left is left. And you have covered all the requirements. You have done the description, the diagram. Once you complete it, this can become a milestone because now you have completed it. So these are milestones. The end of the task, which gives you a clear indication of your progress. What are deliverables? Deliverables are those milestones. These are those milestones where you, at the end of those milestones, you deliver something to the client in forms of report, artifacts, whatever, right? So maybe you did a lot of tasks in requirements engineering, and at the end, you have one milestone is the SRS document preparation. Once you achieve that, you deliver that SRS document to the client. So that SRS document becomes your deliverable. So deliverables are attached to some milestones. Not all milestones have deliverables because milestones give you an idea to check your progress. But some of those milestones are treated as deliverables where you give something to the client, you deliver something to the client. So these are important terms to keep in mind, milestones and deliverables, right? So what we'll do is in our work breakdown structure as project management, we are going to look at the phases, activities, and tasks, and we might come up with a big list of tasks, again, under different activities and phases. And some of those tasks we are going to identify as milestones. This is milestone 1, this is milestone 2, this is milestone 3, and some of those milestones we will also identify as deliverables, right? So you might have more than one deliverable in requirements engineering phase. You might have more than one deliverable in design phase. For example, one of the deliverable in requirements engineering phase is the UML model or the use case diagram. Another deliverable is, for example, your user requirements. Another last deliverable would be your complete SRS document. So you can have multiple deliverables, right? Similarly, in design, you might have one of the deliverables is your user interface design. Another deliverable is your class diagram or your whole UML design. So there can be multiple deliverables, and maybe a final deliverable in design phase would be your design document. But you might have many of the milestones. So doing requirements, doing interviews is a milestone. Doing brainstorming could be finishing brainstorming could be a milestone. Finishing documenting your, for example, your risks, listing down your risk could be a milestone. So there can be multiple of milestones. Again, is this idea clear? The milestone and deliverables, and how is it related to your task and work breakdown structure?
Yes, doctor. So any
Yeah.
milestone will deliver to the client, it's named deliverable.
Yes. So we say all deliverables are milestones, but not all milestones are deliverables. Right? And milestones are there at the end of some of the tasks, not all tasks, but some of the end of the many tasks you have milestones. Some of those milestones are deliverables. So yeah, so let's stop here for today. In the next class, we are going to continue more on project scheduling and planning, which is again very important thing we are going to see in the next class. But let me know if you have any question or anything to be discussed related to what we saw just now. Let me know before we stop for today. Any question, anything?
Doctor,
Yeah.
is change management is part of project management?
Okay, that's an interesting thing. Change management. Again, it's the word is their management. So we may say, okay, it's a management. Management might be involved in change management because you need to negotiate, for example, the budget or the time. If there is a need to change your budget and decline time because of change. But change management is a lot to do with the technical side. If you remember in requirements change management, we spoke about that requirements come, we have the change control board, we study the impact of the change. So all those things. So it's a lot of technical work. It's not management work. But if a change request leads to some negotiations where you have to do change in budget or time, other things you have to negotiate, then of course management team is also involved in the process. But it's not a lot to do with management, but a lot to do with the technical side. Right. So just some tasks being named as management doesn't mean it's management job, right? Some of the work or some of the people call requirements engineering as requirements management. Even there are books written called requirements management. Doesn't mean requirements engineering is a management job in that sense. Of course, you do a lot of management while doing requirements engineering, but requirements engineering in that sense is technical, right? Requirements engineering is technical job. So just again, this is my point. Just because that some words have word management there doesn't mean it's completely a management job or it's mainly a management job. So change management is mainly a technical job, but yeah, management people are also involved in many situations. Yes, please. Any other question before we stop for today? Also, there's a question I can see here. Can we say that project management take care of workshops or interviews? You see here again, management might be involved, but the workshop interview, the main thing there, your requirements engineering team is there. It's the technical team, not the management team. Keep that in mind. Are we saying that there's no management involved while conducting these workshops interview? No, management might be involved, right? For example, even if you need to travel for interview from one city to another, of course, management has to make all those arrangements, right? So it's important that management is involved. There's a workshop, of course, conducting those workshops. There's a lot of management there, but the activity itself, the workshop or interview, is a requirements engineering thing. It's a requirements engineering activity. So it's a technical side work.